Hi Glass Kickers, happy Friday. This is the Friday Live Lunch and Learn here in the Kick Glass Career Women's Facebook group. I'm Tammy Banfield, of course. And today I have a topic for you. We're going to be talking about why you need to take a break from your job search in order to succeed in your job search. But of course, as I always say, and as I always like to open these live lunch and learns, these live lunch and learns are for you, members of this group. So if you have a question, if there's something going on in your job search, in your career right now that you want some help with or some guidance or some feedback on, if you're writing your resume and you're stuck, if you have a question about LinkedIn or applying for jobs or interviewing for jobs or anything like that, please pop in, let me know. Write a comment. I will stop what I'm doing and answer, I promise. And if you're catching the replay, because I know a lot of people catch this on the replay, which is perfectly fine with me, feel free to put a comment or a question in the comments at any time, and I will get to you, I promise. Also, Melissa and I will be recording a new episode of the podcast, the Kick Some Glass podcast, next week. And I'm looking for questions. We usually do a segment on the podcast that addresses listener questions or just any sort of feedback that we've gotten about careers or questions that we've received about careers. We try to talk about those and hash those out on the podcast. And I need a few more. So if you have any questions for the podcast, again, just throw it in the comments, or if you don't want to make it public, that's fine too. Just send me a message, a private message, or you can email me. I'll throw all the contact information in the comments below when I'm done recording here. Okay. So today, so we're talking about taking a break from your job search and why this is so incredibly critical. And I thought this would be a good topic today because I'm fresh off of a vacation myself. I took a little 5-day break away, and it was amazing. It was amazing. It was one of the best trips I've had in a really long time, I have to say. It was just incredibly relaxing and restorative and a lot of fun. It was everything that you want a vacation to be, you know, how you just want to go away and you want to feel like completely relaxed and like you've left every worry you've ever had behind and it's all fresh and new and good. And that's the kind of vacation that I had. I know it doesn't always work out that way, right? Sometimes you get on vacation and you can't shut off the worry and you just don't have the fun that you expect to have. But this vacation for me was not like that. It was incredibly relaxing and restorative. And I did a really good job of remaining completely disconnected. Sort of. I did take like 30 minutes here and there on a couple days just to clean out my inbox because I saw that number on my phone ratcheting up and with the unread messages, and it gets to a point where that like causes me some stress. So I did take a few minutes just to wipe out some of those and get back to some people, but for the most part I was like away from my phone and away from my computer, and it felt really, really great. And this is what I need you to do for your job search, because I'll tell you, the week before I was going on vacation, I knew that I really needed it. Like when it was coming up, I'm like, this is something that I really need to just like really soak up. I need to really commit to this break, because there was a few times where I caught myself writing an email or responding to a client, taking a second and then like proofreading it before I hit send. And some of my sentences were pure gibberish, which is not good when you're a writer and you make your living as a writer. And I was like, obviously there was like multiple things going on in my brain. I'm trying to manage a whole bunch of different goals and thought processes, and like a whole bunch of different things are happening in my life. And it was just like too much, like overwhelmed for my brain, that I wasn't able to remain focused and present on one thing for like more than 5 minutes, which is a sign that it's time to step away, right? So in your job search, you do need to step away. And I recommend, and this is in the course that I recently put out, but I recommend that you take one day, at least 1 day, completely, a full entire day, 24 hours away from job search. Don't think about it. Don't look at it. Don't read the job alert emails that you get. Don't be scrolling through LinkedIn looking for jobs. Don't be thinking about applying for jobs. Don't be thinking about jobs that you applied for and when you should be hearing back from them. Take a full entire day off. Nothing. And I know that's really hard, especially if you're in a job right now that you really need to get out of, or if you're unemployed right now. You may feel guilty about taking that time away, taking that time off, taking that break for yourself, because the pressure, right? You feel that pressure and that impatience to be productive, to get more done, to just, get out one more application, or scroll through one more page of job board ads, or send out that one more connection request. Just a little more, right? Because in your job search, it can feel like all the time, if you just do a little more, the result will come faster. If you just push a little harder, that interview is going to come in sooner. But that's not always the case. I get emails and calls a lot from job seekers, whether they're my clients or not, about how to fix some pretty tragic errors in their applications. So, and I think we've all been here, because I know I have done this in the past, where you have applied for a job and you send maybe the wrong resume, the resume that's tailored for a different position, and you send it to a new position and you forget that which version of your resume you should have sent. Or you send something with a typo in the email, or you send this is one of the worst, a cover letter addressed to a completely different company or for a completely different position. So job seekers are always sort of asking me, like, how do I walk back from that? How do I fix this now? How do I make this right? And it's sort of a no-win situation, right? And a lot of times, really the best advice is to just let it go. Just let it go, because if it is an error that they pick up on, it's not going to look great, right? If it's an error that they somehow didn't notice or got by them, you resubmitting something is only going to call more attention to it that they may not have noticed in the first place. And then that doesn't look good, because now they're like, oh, yes, now I see that error or that mistake, which you don't want that either. So really, the best advice I have is to not make these mistakes in the first place. Easier said than done, right? But that is why taking a break from your job search is so important. It helps you stay fresh. It helps you to avoid making those errors. It doesn't completely exhaust you on that task. So if you're doing the same sort of thing, and you probably know this from your work, right? From your job. If you are doing the same thing over and over and over again, if you are completely absorbed in a project or in a task that is like never ending over and over, and it's fairly repetitive, because applying for jobs is a fairly repetitive thing to be doing. If you're doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, you can get completely exhausted by it and start to not notice errors or mistakes or inaccuracies or details that you would have noticed if, at the beginning of doing all this, right? As that goes on, as that process goes on, you become less and less focused, less and less clear. You're less and less able to just pay attention to what you're doing. And that's when all these mistakes are going to crop up for you. Excuse me. Sorry. And also, if you're living in your job search too much, if you're constantly job searching, you're going to zap your motivation and you're going to totally zap your energy. So the amount of energy that you're going to bring to your job search at the beginning, it's going to start to wane over time if you're spending too much time in it. And this is a problem because I feel very strongly that your intent when you apply for a job, your intent, and so I guess maybe even like the energy that you're bringing to that application every single time really matters. I think that comes through. So you want to make sure that every application that you're putting out there is with like the 100% intent and motivation that you're going to get the interview. It's like with 100% intent that you know you can inflict or affect change at the company in a positive way, that you are the perfect person for that role. You want to be applying for jobs like wholeheartedly knowing this is the job for you and that they need you. Because that's going to come through. Like even when you're just writing that email to say, hey, take a look at my resume, you want that 100% energy and motivation and intent when you hit send on that application. And if you are sending or trying to send out like 10 to 20 applications a day or something, that intention, that motivation, that energy when you're firing these off is just going to plummet. And that's going to come through. It is going to come through in the way that you're communicating yourself. And you're going to be making mistakes. You know, if you just start copying and pasting the emails that you're sending out, eventually one of those is not going to be edited properly. You're not going to change the name like you should. You're not going to change the position title, and you're going to make a mistake. And it could be on that one job that you really, really want out of every job that you apply for. And that's disastrous because there's really no good way to walk yourself back from that. And your confidence. You need to take a break for your confidence to like recharge, because I know so well that when you're applying for jobs, time like stands still all of a sudden, right? Like you apply for a job and you know intellectually in your mind when you apply for a job before the closing date, you should expect at least a week more, week to 3 weeks even after the closing date before you even expect to hear back. But for some reason, like you know this intellectually, but for some reason, as soon as you hit send on your application or you hit send on that email where you're applying for a job, you want the response like that, right? And then the next day you don't hear a response, or 3 days from now you don't hear a response, and you feel like I've applied for 50 jobs and I haven't heard anything, because you've invested all of this time applying for all of these jobs and you're not getting anything back immediately. It makes you feel rejected, even though you haven't been rejected yet. It hasn't been enough time. So you need to sort of like calm down that sense of needing immediate feedback. And the best way to do that is to spend a little less time in your job search. Have some focuses going on outside of your job search so that you can sort of let that time pass, that required time, let that pass, you know, in a more peaceful way, in a way that it's not going to completely degrade your confidence, where you feel like you're unemployable or undeserving of a job, which I see very, very often with my clients. Like your confidence in a job search, it's almost like worse than dating sometimes. The way, how quickly people start feeling rejected in a job search, it's like that. So I want you to take a break, do something that's good for you, whatever that is. Like for me, it would be a really good run or a nice plate of nachos. Or, you know, spending time with my family, my nieces, my nephews, my sister. That sort of stuff is really helpful for me. Whatever it is for you, whatever you need to do it to just take a break and relax. So along with taking like 1 day a week completely off of your job search, don't think about it. Just take a complete day off. I also recommend, for all of the reasons I just listed above, you know, reducing errors, improving your confidence throughout your search. I also recommend when you're doing a job search, I want you to put a time limit on how much time you're spending like in one sitting. So no more marathon sessions. Don't get up at 6 a.m. on Saturday morning start your job search and go all day long until like 6 o'clock at night. Don't do that. I would say by hour 2, whatever you're doing is probably pretty useless. It just is. Your brain can't stay that high peak, high functioning, that sharp for extended periods of time. So no marathon job search sessions, okay? Keep it short. Set a timer. I do this throughout my workday, actually, when I'm writing, when I'm working on client projects, for the exact same reason. I know I'm not as sharp when I hit hour 3 as I was, the first 30 minutes into creating content and developing documents. I need to stay sharp, so I need to take a break. So I set a timer. I set a timer where I'm completely focused on whatever I'm doing for like 45 minutes to an hour, and then I get up and I take a break. I step away from my desk, and then I come back and I set the timer again, and we go again. Because if you're just sitting there, just staring at the screen, your productivity will go down because you're not as sharp. So you're not getting as much done as you would have. Plus, because you're not as sharp, you're going to be making more and more errors, or you're just going to be struggling to try and get out these applications in a way that you weren't when you first sat down. Make sense? So set a timer. I do recommend like the 45 minutes to an hour max. I think it would be much better if you have limited time, or we want to place these time limits. It would be better if you opted for, say, 20 to 30 minutes 6 days a week than a couple days of like 3 hours. Okay? So shorter time, have these sprints, have shorter sprints for your job search throughout the week, no marathon sessions, and give yourself one day where you don't even think about it at all. Don't even think about it. Save those job alert emails into a folder somewhere that you can go back to the next day. But really, really give yourself that disconnected break from your job search. It's going to be great for your confidence. It's going to help your accuracy. The quality of your application is just going to be 100% better. And if your application quality is better and you're sharper and you're more positive, that is only going to help you get the job quicker. So taking those breaks and limiting the amount of time you're spending in your job search is actually going to improve your job search. You're going to get results faster from your job search. As counterintuitive as that sounds, it is going to be better for you to spend less time and work a little less hard at it. Okay? And if you're really confused about job searching and how to maximize your time, I wrote a whole course on this, so you can check out the course. That's on my website in the shop. Or if you have a specific question, like if you're having trouble setting up a job search plan or a job search strategy for yourself, just let me know. I can help you with that. No problem at all. And that is it. Well, yeah, 20 minutes, not too bad. A little longer than normal, actually. Okay, so that's it for today's live lunch and learn here in the Kid Class Career Women's Facebook group. So happy to have you here. As always, any question at all, reach out to me. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you. And and please podcast. If you have a topic that you want us to discuss, if you have questions for us, let us know. Melissa and I would be happy to discuss anything that you want us to on our podcast. We're recording next week, and we'll be recording again, of course, in the future as more and more episodes need to be recorded. So drop us a line, and like I said, I will include our email and contact information in the comments below. So check it out and enjoy the rest of your Friday. Have a relaxing, restorative weekend. And if you're job searching, take one day off, Saturday or Sunday this weekend. Just take it off from your job search. Take a break. I give you permission. All right? All right. I will see you next week. Take care, guys.